Mary told Jacob that he looked depressed, and he said, "Why do you say that?" And she said, "It's because you look down." Get it? Looking down. Or you'll get that joke better after this lesson. Anyways, in this lesson, we are going over angles of elevation and depression. What does that mean? Well, the angle of elevation is the angle formed by a horizontal line and a line of sight. So in other words, if this is a line you're looking at, this is horizontal, straight across, and you look above the line, you're looking up, you're elevating your eyes. So it's the angle you create when you look up. The angle of depression is basically the angle you create if instead of looking up, you look down. All right? So if we have any triangles, basically you're going to find the angle of elevation at where the person is who's looking up. Do you think they're going to be on top of the triangle or the bottom of the triangle? They'll be on bottom because you got to be on bottom to look up. And for the angle of depression, that person will be on top of the triangle looking down. So let's go ahead and identify some of these. In this example, we're classifying each one of these as an angle of elevation, an angle of depression, or neither. So this first angle, if you look at it here, well, you don't start looking down like this. You always have to start at horizontal. Since it's starting already down, that one is neither. Now we'll look at the blue angle. That's looking at someone who starts horizontally and then turns their eyes down. That's an angle of depression. For this next angle, you can say that the person is either kind of looking up or looking straight up, that's not where we start. We start at the horizontal, so that one's neither. Finally, this one is for a person who's looking straight out and turns their eyes up. That one counts as the angle of elevation. Now there's a special relationship between these two blue angles. Because horizontal lines, because horizontal lines are always parallel, the angle of elevation is always congruent to the angle of depression because both are alternate interior angles. So let's quickly go over some problem-solving strategies. We're not going to be doing any mathematical stuff today because I'm going to give you some tools to do that later. But here are the strategies you'll want to use. First, always draw a picture. Label or highlight the known sides and label the unknown side or angle with a variable. Finally, label the angles of elevation and depression. Later, I'm going to teach you how to set up an equation using a known triangle, special rights, or trigonometric ratios, but not today. So in this example, D is flying a kite. The length of the kite string is 50 yards, and D sees that the angle of elevation from her to the kite is 60 degrees. What is the angle of depression? So first of all, I draw the kite and a triangle, and do you think D's up on top or on bottom? She'll be on bottom. And so that's how I know the angle of elevation is this 60 degrees. You start looking horizontal, and the angle that her eyes have to turn up to the kite, that's the angle of elevation. Well, the angle of depression is going to be the same measure. It should be 60 degrees, but let me go ahead and draw horizontal from the top for the kite. Well, the angle that you're going to turn down, because these are alternate interior angles, is also 60 degrees. So the angle of depression is 60 degrees. On this next problem, we have an airplane is flying at an altitude of 3,000 meters, and the distance from you directly to the plane is 6,000 meters. And we want to know the angles of elevation and depression. So first of all, we draw a picture, and here's the little person down on bottom, and the airplane. Actually, I didn't really give you a lot of information, but I can now. Just assume that the angle of elevation here is 30 degrees, and I'll teach you in another lesson why that is the case. And so if you know that angle is going to be 30 degrees, then you draw a parallel line here, and your angle of depression is going to be the same. So in our next lesson, I'll teach you why that angle has to be 30 degrees. So for further reflection, why does the angle of elevation start at the lowest point in the diagram and the angle of depression start at the highest point?